This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and t-shirts that give back. One purchased equals one donated. Now go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY at checkout.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Wondery.
February is the month of love, and we all deserve a little something special. Dime Beauty is having their annual Valentine's sale right now, where you can get 25% off everything with code VALENTINE. It's the perfect excuse to refresh your beauty routine or pick out a thoughtful gift. At Dime, clean is more than a standard. It's their promise. Dedicated to skin-conscious ingredients, they focus on creating beauty, skincare, body care, and fragrances that are safe, gentle, and free from harsh chemicals. With Dime, you can trust what you're putting on your skin every single day. If you're looking for the perfect nighttime anti-aging cream, their TBT cream is a must-try. It's packed with clean, age-defying ingredients that nourish and hydrate your skin while you sleep. But don't just take my word for it. Over 3,000 five-star reviews speak for themselves. Whether it's skincare, fragrance, or a little bit of both, Dime has something for everyone. Visit DimeBeautyCO.com and use code VALENTINE for 25% off right now during their Valentine's Day sale. Grab your favorites before it's over. DimeBeautyCO.com.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Jason, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Logan, Libby, Aaron, Kristen, Tia, and Jonathan. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in New York. Well, we will be vamped out in Brooklyn. Or the Facebook group where we'll be hanging out daily. Paige, how dare you make me watch my now favorite Wes Craven movie this early on a Sunday morning?
I know what you're craving.
And that is a strangely acted 90s Eddie Murphy horror movie?
What else could you possibly want? Ahoy, motherfuckers, I'm Paige.
Paige, I was literally about to do the same thing, son of a bitch. And I'm your ahoyed motherfucker, Todd. Which means I don't like horror movies and you guys make me watch them. You guys know the premise. You've been here a while. Let's do this. Paige,
yes.
This week you made us watch Vampire in Brooklyn. And I have to ask, is this the first time you've seen the movie all the way through?
It is not.
Okay, it was my first time. Walk me through your first time. What was your life like at that time?
Great. I saw this for the first time a few years ago. I think it was during pandemic at that point. Back when I had a podcast with Crystal Adams.
Yes.
Which is still online. You can still find it. It is
Black Card Rehab. Yeah.
And we did a bunch of different things where sometimes we would watch movies. Sometimes we would have people on to tell us about their favorite Black things. It was a whole bunch of stuff.
I think mine's space.
Yeah, right?
My favorite Black thing.
It's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Astronauts, all of it. Honestly, you could do a whole season on Black space, Black people in space. They are innovators in the space world.
Literally helped get us to the moon, Paige. Yeah, like...
No, not only that, like, I watched a whole documentary on Nichelle Nichols advocating for Black astronauts. Honestly, that documentary is fire. Nichelle Nichols was a fantastic and interesting person in general. Go out, learn about Nichelle Nichols. But
check it out.
I would have loved to have had Crystal on to talk about this movie again because it's bonkers. However, Todd, you and I are basically recording this from business trips or in between business trips because that's how busy our lives are right now. And it's very hard to get anyone else on our bonkers schedule.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why I watched this the first time. Neither of us had seen it then. And we both were like, this is the craziest thing we've ever seen.
Yeah.
This is bonkers. And through watching it that time, I learned that it was an Eddie Murphy passion project.
Yeah, of course it was.
Of course it was, because a lot of people involved saw the script and were like, no, except for Wes Craven.
And Eddie Murphy was like, but my brother wrote it, so you know it's good.
Yeah, it's Eddie and Charlie wrote it together.
Yeah.
This movie is bonkers.
Yeah.
Never has a movie so short had so many rules. and that's just the beginning.
Paige, was this movie short? Because this movie, for the first half of it, felt very well paced.
Sure.
And then the second half felt like,
Yes.
I don't know, a Ken Burns documentary that's like 9 seasons long. It was so slow. I was like, oh.
The back half is so slow.
The second he becomes like Pastor Clump or whatever.
Yeah, just in the middle of the movie for no reason.
I was like, oh, this thing drags.
Not much happens in this movie. And that was
I
something that like
know.
I remembered from last time. And I remembered thinking like, wow, like, no, did nobody go over this script for story? Like, and no, they didn't, because it was his passion project and he was so famous he could do whatever he wanted at the time. But yes, it's only an hour and 40 minutes long. Like, this is by most accounts, a short movie. It's only 10 minutes off 90 minutes, right? Like, it is not long.
It's not.
Especially for the amount of weird establishing lore that they try to pack into this movie.
I thought they got to how we got Eddie Murphy as a vampire. They got there so fast in VO. So I kind of loved that. They were like, yeah, vampires actually started in like Egypt. And then half of us went to Transylvania or whatever. And the other half went to the Bermuda Triangle. And I was like, all right, VO, I get it. Let's move on. But that's bonkers at its face. Like, that's insane.
And then they build off of that as if, like, you get it. And then, like, they come back to it later.
They build off of it like that's what everybody already knows.
Everybody knows that vampires come from the Bermuda Triangle.
It's like they say it like, guys, I'm sorry, but there might be some people who don't know this.
Right.
That, you know, half of vampires went to Transylvania and the other half went to the literal Bermuda Triangle, which is, Paige, in the ocean.
Yes,
It's
yes.
not like there's an island there that people
Yes.
live on.
Except that later in this movie, people are like, it's from all these islands in the Bermuda Triangle. Your mom went there to study. And I was like,
Your mom, Paige! How dare you?
What?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. That actually is a line of dialogue. I apologize. You're right. I thought you were attacking me.
no, I was not, despite the crackle of my voice. No. The idea in this movie is that the Bermuda Triangle is just a place people go. They know where it is. They come right back. It's no problem.
Famously, it's not something that like anything with a navigation equipment might want to avoid because of the magnetic polarity of the planet, I think.
Look.
I don't know. I'm not an alien.
Yeah.
I don't know the ins and outs of Earth.
I don't know. I think it's a thin place. That's just me.
I think it's where Tannis is.
Oh, nice. Anyway, we watched this movie.
Yes, we did. Paige,
Yes.
I have a lot of thoughts about this movie.
I bet you do.
The first of which is, why is Arsenio Hall not in this movie? Because this is
Right.
100% just coming to America.
It is.
You have a toothy Prince of Darkness
Yes.
coming in and like trying to find the love of his life.
Right.
But on the down low, that is 100% coming to America.
It is. And much like Coming to America, which we've done, which I love, which is a classic.
Yes, we've done on Romancing the Pot. It is not a horror virgin episode, guys.
Yes. It is not a horror virgin episode. I wonder, the first time I saw this, I wondered again last night when I watched this. Eddie Murphy doesn't seem to quite understand he's not the hero of this movie, and I think that is bonkers. But secondly, I don't know if the part of the ghoul was originally written for Arsenio, but that is basically Arsenio's character in Coming to America.
Yeah.
Although I do think that the actor playing the ghoul in this movie does a hilarious job.
Oh, Kadeem Harrison is amazing. Or Hardinson, sorry.
Hardinson, yeah. Kadeem Hardinson is amazing. And I went and looked up a bunch. I was like, what else has this dude been in? I know I've seen him.
Yo, he was in A Different World in like
Yes,
the 80s.
yes.
Yeah, which was like a Cosby Show spinoff when like his older kids go to college, I think.
Yes, yeah. They go to college. Yes.
All I remember from that is that he had glasses that flipped up because I was too young for that show. I was like, I don't know what's going on. But this guy with glasses is hilarious.
I mostly know about A Different World from Black Heart Rehab, where we did an episode on A Different World.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit before even our time. Like, it's a little bit older than us. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But he's hilarious. But that highlights one of the issues with the amount of rules and lore in this movie is that what we know about vampires as a society is largely a pop culture creation, right?
Yeah.
So anytime you deviate, you have to explain. And a lot of people do deviate, like Twilight does.
Man, if Eddie Murphy's had just sparkly skin like Twilight, holy shit, I would have loved it. Oh my God.
This is the skin of a killer, Bella.
They call me Black Diamond.
Oh my God.
I would have lost my mind.
I would have killed. Just replace Eddie Murphy vampire for Edward Cullen. No other changes. Let's go.
I mean, Eddie Murphy does play an Italian man in this movie, so he's not above doing that.
Oh my God.
You know?
It's wild.
And honestly, Paige, I know you're Italian, so and I am not, so this is your call. I thought he did a very accurate portrayal.
Oh yeah, it's just like some of my uncles. But he, same with Twilight, Blade, anytime you have differences, you have to then spend time explaining them. And this movie was like, okay, great. We're going to rewrite what vampires can do, and exist like, while also incorporating some existing elements. And the amount of time this movie spends explaining their whole new vampire lore is bonkers.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
I love it.
But again, love it.
I love it almost as much as the one shot of where Eddie Murphy is showing Angela Bassett how great it is to be a vampire.
Yes.
And he floats off of her roof.
Yeah.
And then after 2 seconds of just floating, he then flaps his cape. What are you, why would you do that? You're we know you don't need that to fly. So why are you just look at this motherfucker? It was so funny to me that he did that. I paused it, rewound it, and made Natalie come watch. And she was like, I don't know why it's so funny. And I was like, I don't know why it's so funny either, but I can't stop laughing at it.
My favorite part is that she knows what vampires are, right? And he does that.
Well, she thought she did until she read the script, and then she was like, oh, I've got some boning up to do.
I have it all wrong.
With a detective justice.
I gotta go. Oh, hell yeah. I gotta go to the Bermuda Triangle. But he's like, maybe this is what you're meant to be. Let me show you. And then he jumps off, and he floats just a little above the roof. And is like, huh?
But it's out over the street. He's off the roof a little bit. So he's not super high off where they were, but
right.
But he's probably, I don't know, 10 stories up or something.
Right.
But he's just floating there for 2 seconds and then flaps his cape it's sexy. I don't know. It was so silly. I laughed so hard when I saw it. Anyway, it was so funny.
It's just one of his many ill-defined powers. And from that moment on, she's fucking sold.
Paige.
She's I'm in 100%.
Paige, have you never been to the club and seen a grown man float and then shake his cape towards you sexily?
Yeah, I've been to Fantasia. What about it? I mean, just as we were replace Edward Cullen with Eddie Murphy, hilarious. Replace Alexander Skarsgård with Eddie Murphy, equally hilarious.
I would have watched all of True Blood if they had done that, for sure.
I mean, you should watch it all. You should watch through season 3. But anyway, this movie is bonkers, and we could talk about it all here, but there's so much of it that just as we get into it, we will talk about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe we should just start and go through it scene by scene, Paige, because there's a lot to cover.
Let's do it. In the credits, you realize this was directed by Wes Craven the year before Scream.
Uh-huh.
Basically, he had Nightmare on Elm Street under his belt. That was about it. This movie, which I think makes sense given the practical effects that we do see in this film, which there are a lot of. That's one of the things this movie does pretty well.
I mean, he had also done Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes,
Yeah.
all of the ones before Nightmare on Elm Street too, but you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
But this exists in a wild point in his career between, I would say, 2 of his most enduringly famous movies, right?
And I'll say this, it seems like he was really working on Scream at the time he was supposed to be working on this.
Working on this?
Because, he is just the director, he didn't write it or anything like that.
Right.
But I do think, had he been fully present, he could have leaned in and been like, hey, Eddie, I have a few thoughts just story-wise. And maybe save some of the weirdness in the movie. But he was too busy writing, I think, a much better movie, Scream.
Yeah.
Even though Scary Movie did the ending better, and I stick by that. The Kaiser Soze of it all is insane.
Incredible.
In Scary Movie. And that is the only way that movie is better than Scream. Scream is way better than Scary Movie.
I mean, but the Kaiser Soze of it all. But
I know, it's so great.
I bring that up because, yes, this is like a director on a wild ascension to crazy fame, right? Already has some fame.
Yes.
But this is because this is Eddie Murphy's passion project. And he's like, I want the best horror director I can get right now. And that was Wes Craven.
Yeah, he got him.
And that's why this movie exists. Now, similarly, I think Charlie Murphy might have been playing some basketball with Prince while Eddie was working on this script and maybe didn't give it the once-over.
That very well could be, yeah.
That very well could be. But while the credits are going, we have voiceover that basically lays it out of like, vampires were Egyptian. They were chased out of Egypt because people like figured out what they were, which I do think is a cool origin story.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. I'm here for it. And then it's like half of us went to Transylvania. Okay. And the other half of us went to the Bermuda Triangle. And I'm like, the fuck? Fuck the what? Because he thinks the Bermuda Triangle and the Caribbean are interchangeable.
Yes, he does. To me, I thought for a second, like, hang on, is there like a triangle-shaped island in the Bermuda Triangle?
Right?
And I Googled it, and Google was like, shut up, Todd, you're dumb. Of course not.
No, there is not. The Bermuda Triangle, middle of the ocean, not much there. But what I think he's trying to do, and is just bad at geography, is to try and pull from like diaspora myths that are similar to vampires, which if someone wants to go out and do a ton of research and do a vampire movie like that, I am so on board.
Yeah, sounds great.
I'm so on board. This is like the same thing when we did the most recent Exorcist movie, where they were like, hey, bring in the Yoruba lady as opposed to regular exorcism. And I was like,
Yeah.
Yes. And then they immediately were like, no, we got to have white people do it. And I'm like, y'all just made this movie worse.
Yeah, that was when the movie jumped the Rubicon for me.
Jesus Christ. But if somebody wants to come in and do naturalist religion, vampire, exorcism, all of it, I'm here for it. Let people cook and just do it.
Yeah.
But this movie... No, this movie is like the Bermuda Triangle and we're making everything up. And you're like, okay.
All right.
But in that voice, in that weird, I was about to say voicemail, like Eddie Murphy's like, okay, here's what the movie's about.
Charlie Murphy frantically writing it down on a pad by the phone.
Oh, I got you. Hold on. I gotta go in for the second quarter with Prince. He made his pancakes. But he is the last of his kind in the Bermuda Triangle. Apparently he is lonely there. And he wants to find the last known offspring of vampires in Brooklyn because he knows there's at least one. Now, in a second watch of this movie, I had a real upsetting thought. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, of course I do.
Okay. Later, when they go to Dr. Zico is like, I encountered the Dark One and he knew your mom. And there's something from that union. It is Angela Bassett's character.
Yes.
And now the Dark One wants Angela Bassett, which means one of two things. Well, three things. One, it is the same vampire. And this is real, like, Oedipal, well, I guess it'd be Electra complex, not Oedipal complex, but like it's his daughter that he is then romantically involved in. Hate that.
It's not. Eddie Murphy talks about how he knew her father and saw her father die.
Okay,
so
cool.
It can't be. Yeah. Which I honestly had that thought too. And then when they say that, I was like, okay, good.
Right. but it's still not out of the woods yet.
No, we won't be.
Because her father might be his father.
Oh, I think definitely at least vamp father. I got the impression that like at least her dad turned him, right?
Right.
But I mean, he might be a natural born vampire. I don't know. There are some vampire lores in which vampires can get pregnant and have babies. So I don't know.
Well, that is this lore to a degree because she's, quote, half vampire.
She's a blade. I wrote that down in my notes because I was like, hang on.
She's a blade.
Yes.
But they like, I think the lore around her mom is the most interesting part of the lore of this movie. But they like really yada yada it to the point where you're like, wait, what? And you're having to like put puzzle pieces that don't fit together.
Yeah, I just wrote in my notes, I guess her mom died because she got dicked down so good by a vampire one time. The loss of that literally drove her crazy and she died in a nut house.
I mean, that's what the movie says happened.
That's what I took from it. I'm not making that up. That's what I thought the movie was telling me.
Yeah, in those exact words, too, by the way. The movie refers to, they call it an asylum once, and then the rest of the time they're like, the nut house.
Yeah.
Which could be a mental health facility or a place that sells a variety of nuts.
Oh my God, Paige, let's quit everything and just start I just want to start one, not even store, like in a mall, you're walking through like the hallways of the mall and like one of those things.
A kiosk.
Yeah, like a kiosk. And it's just you and me. We sell
It's just the nut house.
like brown sugared pecans or something, and it's called the Nut House. Guys.
Love it. I really think that our existing jobs will pay better than that, but $1 million idea.
Oh, Paige, there's no way if this is the only one, we are not living in our vehicles. Like, yeah, we in the mall parking lot, living off of our own supply.
Just selling nuts out of the back of our cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the movie posits that is what happened, right? That she was Bella, he was Edward. Edward dies, Bella loses like all grip on reality, but at the same time raises a daughter to adulthood.
So what you're saying is Eddie Murphy in this movie is Jacob. So he can turn into a wolf.
Oh.
He imprinted on Angela Bassett as a child.
Baby. Oh my God.
My God.
Oh my
Did
God.
Stephanie Meyer just rip off Vampire in Brooklyn lore? Oh my God. Oh my God, Paige. I am choosing to believe that this story is just a continuation of the Twilight universe where
God.
Jacob goes and tries to bone down, I don't know, the baby he fell in love with in the Twilight.
Renesmee. So Angela Bassett is Renesmee.
We haven't gotten there. The only reason I know that is because I made a joke on a podcast that you guys confirmed.
And we all lost our minds.
Yes.
Yes. And we are still trying to get through the rest of those Twilight movies eventually, but like...
I know. It's largely our fault at this point because I'm traveling. Well, we're both traveling so much and Jackie is obviously busy. So like,
right.
It's hard to get everybody together. But man, I can't wait to continue that because I really want to see how they softly approach a grown-ass man falling in love with a baby.
Oh, they fumble it. They don't successfully do it at all.
Paige, how could you not fumble that premise? If I was the director, I'd be like, no.
I remember reading it in the book and being like, fuck you, and like tossing the book across the room.
If Stephanie Meyer's in the room, you roll the book up, hit her in the nose with it gently and be like, no.
Stop. No.
Bad author.
No.
Bad author.
Especially after in the previous book, she had this whole thing where he had to like keep her warm in the snow and it was hot as fuck. And then it was like, nope, he's in love with the baby. And you're like, God damn it.
He had to keep that baby warm in the snow.
Ooh. No, he carried the baby in his backpack at one point. It's real. Oh, man.
I'm surprised he didn't crawl up inside Bella like a tauntaun trying to get at that baby.
No, you should smell it on the outside. Oh, my God. Well, he couldn't because Edward hadn't used his teeth to open the amniotic. I hate this world.
What? Hang the fuck. Are you serious? All right, we got to stop. I can't. What?
That's real. That's a real thing. She's also drinking blood out of like a bendy straw.
Paige,
it's fucking wild.
If your attempt is to eat her out, that's too deep. That's all I'm saying.
That's too deep. That's
the
too
wrong.
Deep.
Yeah.
Stop going. You've hit oil or baby.
Definitely. Yeah.
Anyway, back to this vampire movie. This retelling.
Yes,
of
of the future Jacob Twilight story, as they
honestly would not be mad. But
I'm sure he'd be happy for the work. I haven't seen him in much recently.
He does a handful of things, and honestly, he grew up to be very cute, and then married another girl named Taylor. So they are the Taylors Lautner. But my favorite is that he at one point dated Taylor Swift, and his fun online bit that he does all the time is whenever people analyze songs about like which boyfriend is this about or whatever, he's like, it's me. Like, he takes credit for all of them.
That's
knowing
hilarious.
it's not him. It's the funniest thing ever. No, legit adult Taylor Lautner, hilarious.
I just want to see him to respond to someone's conspiracy theory about who Your Body's a Wonderland is about by John Mayer with, it's me.
And then whenever she posts like real relationship updates, he's like, excited for you. Like, he's nice and supportive, but he's also having fun with it.
Yeah.
And I dig it. I was like, this is the best attitude.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
He doesn't care. He didn't imprint on her. He didn't imprint on her.
No.
She's not a baby.
No, she's not a baby. She's not another person named, well, I guess she is another person named Taylor, isn't she?
And he does have a type.
Yeah, Taylor's.
I can't wait to sleep with someone with my same name.
Oh, that would be, I think it'd be tough for me to do. But he and his wife seem to just be like chilling and living off the Twilight money, man. And all the power to them.
Yeah.
All of it.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
Are we still in the credits? Have we got to the point where we meet a different world?
No, we just ended the credits. Okay.
We got to meet Julius. Come on.
So we open on the port of Oakland, and Unc and Julius are sitting and watching TV, and they hear a crash because the first 15 minutes of this movie are Speed 2. And like, RIP those yachts, the boat. And I think this is supposed to be basically the Demeter, or like the Demeter.
I think it's referencing that story, yes. I think that is, in this movie's mind, anytime a vampire needs to travel, they go by boat and they eat people on board. I don't think this is the actual Demeter, but I think this is referencing that kind of thing, yeah.
Right.
Because it essentially is what the Demeter became, right?
Yeah.
It's like a ship full of dead, I will say, Hot Pockets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ham and cheese flavored.
Well, with the ham and cheese sucked out, but yes, yeah.
Just bite off the end and like... Sorry, that was a gross noise. I apologize, Natalie.
Paige, I already knew what it sounds like to hoover through a Hot Pocket, all right? Like, yeah, no, I knew. It's fine. I get it.
Yeah. I've been to college.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the boat comes to a stop, crashes into the building, and they only refer to him as Unc, but it's John Witherspoon.
He's, honestly, anytime you see him on the screen, you know.
His time and his clothes got to coordinate, man.
Oh, man, you know
Love
he
him.
is like gonna be half the comedy in the movie. And he's so funny.
The other half is Kadeen Hardison.
I know.
Like, the two of them, which is wild in a movie with Eddie Murphy in it. Like,
Eddie Murphy essentially
the
is the straight man. Yeah.
The entire movie.
Yeah.
And like, not his Will Forte.
I'll agree with that, but I'll say it's kind of nice to see him not trying to be funny.
Sure.
Although when he's being, Pastor Clump and the Italian dude, like, it is what it is. But
yeah, Guido.
yeah.
Yes.
But when he's Max, he's the straight man in the room. And I do think because I guess his name is Julius.
Yeah, Julius's character.
Julius and John Witherspoon, they're just like so funny. It kind of works because they're really good.
They're really good. They're really funny. And like Julius's character is what I will call the like joke monologue character, where it's like Eddie Murphy will come in and be like, these are vampire rules. And he'll be like, yeah, that's right. You got to learn the vampire rules because the boss said so. And you're just like, what is he doing? And I love it so much. He's wearing like 6 hours of makeup. That poor, poor man.
I know.
Anyway, they decide, or rather, John Witherspoon decides to explore the boat. Julius takes off running.
Well, Julius, that's not his job. It's Unc's job. And so he's like, I'm out. Have fun, Unc. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Yeah.
So Unc is walking on the ship, and this is where we get the like, ahoy,
Ahoy,
motherfucker.
So funny. Oh my God.
That basically sets the tone for what we're going to get out of this movie, and I don't hate it. And as he kind of looks around, he finds the dead bodies. He's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then there's a werewolf, is the only way I can describe it. It's a vampire shaped like a wolf because...
It's Jacob. Guys,
it's Jacob.
Yeah.
It's Jacob. He's there for Renesmee. We covered it. But my favorite, and I had this in my notes from last time, and I was very pleased to see it again this time, but he's like, Jesus, Mary, and Jojo.
He says it twice,
and
I refuse to say it anything else when something like this happens. I'm definitely going to say that.
In my notes, I like to think this was Casey and Jojo.
The funny thing is, And you're going to think this is a sentence from 1965. I have a sister-in-law named JoJo.
Really?
And so, yeah. So when he said it, I was like, oh, I know JoJo. She's great.
She's great. Is it like Josephina?
Nope.
And no, just JoJo?
It is JoJo. And that is, I mean, I haven't seen her birth certificate, so like maybe.
Okay.
But I've only ever called her and only ever seen people call her JoJo, and she only answers to JoJo. So.
Okay. All right then.
I don't want to text her and be like, hey, I know we met at your wedding 7 years ago and haven't really seen each other since, but like, what's your fucking real name?
What's your fucking real name? What's your whole name?
Exactly. Yeah.
Did the minister say JoJo, or did whoever was officiating, the officiant, say JoJo?
Yeah.
Okay. I have at work someone who has like a childhood nickname that has endured, and that's what they go by. But like, as the direct report, I have to use their real name on stuff. And people are always like, who's that? And I'm like, oh, they mean this. But like, yeah, I just realized I couldn't give the name because work.
I was in my first band for 6 years, Paige. I didn't learn until after the band broke up that our guitar player's name was Brian and not Cheese or Cheeser.
I still like Cheese. I'd go by Cheeser. Keep it.
It's way better. I still call him Cheese or Cheeser, and he is the best.
There's so many Brians.
I know, right?
Right? My brother-in-law's name is Brian, and he's chosen the Brian path, and I love that for him. But like Trixie Mattel's real name is Brian. Katya's real name is Brian. Everybody's a Brian in their own way.
In a world full of Brians,
right.
Be a Cheeser.
Be a Cheeser.
And he got that nickname because in the 5th grade, he said one time at like a school potluck thing, I like cheese. And then everyone started calling him Cheese or Cheeser. He didn't like love cheese, Paige.
He was at best positive and not a detractor on cheese.
Yeah. If you were giving him like an NPS score, he'd be in like the 7 to 9, 10 range. But like, no, he's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, John Witherspoon goes running and survives whatever wolf this is, Jacob or otherwise.
Well, the wolf sort of jumps past him.
Yeah.
And then we see in shadow, but not caused by any figure. I don't know if you saw that, but like there is no wolf on the screen.
Right.
But the shadow is being cast, and you should be able to see where the wolf is based upon where the shadow is.
Yes.
It's a hilarious shot. Anyway, all you see is the shadow go from wolf to man and then walk away.
Right.
And then that's sort of the end of the scene. But it does spare Witherspoon's life because you're like, man, this guy's got to be in Friday. So, like, we can't kill him.
Right. We can't kill him. No, absolutely not. But we cut to where Julius ran to, which was his girlfriend, Eva, who has literally like 4 lines in this entire movie, and they are all fantastic.
Yeah. No notes because she is everything. I love that she's just like kicking him out. By the way, this is maybe 30 minutes after the boat crashes into where he was.
Right.
So he ran to her house, which is fine. I get that it might be close. I get that. But they were having sex already, and he fell asleep during it.
While he was doing it.
If a boat crashed into the dock, even like hours ago, like tonight, I'm not going to sleep. Like that's an adrenaline rush. Like I get running to your girlfriend's place and trying to smash because like, you know, death is a hard thing. And like,
yeah, of course.
I get that. But falling asleep is something I wouldn't do for a day and a half at least.
Oh, but my favorite is that he's got awake apnea, basically.
Yes.
like he's snore fucking and she's throwing him out.
I actually think because he says I was just resting. So that means I think she was on top and he fell asleep.
Okay, I think it's way funnier in my version where he's on top.
I mean, it would be funnier if he was on top and fell asleep on top of her. Yeah. But again, this man has so much adrenaline running through his veins. He should be up for days.
But yeah, still thrusting, but also snoring is how I picture it. And I know that's wrong, but I love it.
That is just someone who sleeps walks sexy, I guess. I don't know. As long as both people are okay with it, I'm fine.
But she kicks him out.
Yeah.
And he then is immediately caught on the streets by 2 mobsters. And I just have in my notes, leave it to Italians to murk a fool named Julius.
Yeah. That's fair.
We have a history. But they kind of run him down into the alley and they're about to shoot him for money he don't have for them. And then who should show up but Eddie Murphy in the craziest wig on earth that he's going to wear for the entire rest of the movie.
I mean, it is pretty much just like a shoulder length perm,
Yeah.
I guess you'd say.
It belongs on one of the Pointer sisters from this era.
Paige, it belongs in a museum.
It belongs in a museum.
Like, that's how old that haircut is. Although I'll say, like, that is not unlike what we saw, and I'll call him the villain of Coming to America, where...
Sure. Yeah.
Because he's definitely got that, what's the commercial for the hair product?
Soul Glow.
He's got that soul glow in his hair for sure in this movie. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why they chose this hairstyle. Eddie Murphy has gone on in like interviews to say that he thinks this is part of why the movie failed.
I don't think...
And I'm here to tell you there's many reasons.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's the wig he chose. I don't think that's the case.
No, I do think that's an odd choice because it was not even like on trend for the time. Like and he's supposed to be this like sexy sex symbol and you're like, I don't know.
I think it does do a good job of making him look like he's not from around here. Like it does make him seem like a fish out of water, if you want to call it that.
Right.
Which is fair because he is a toothy prince from a foreign land who's come to New York City to find his bride.
Right.
Undercover. So like...
We've never heard a story like this before.
No. And Eddie Murphy has never ripped off a screenplay like this before. I think it's hilarious that it's the same premise, just like a horror version of it. Anyway.
Yes.
But I think it does a good job of setting him up as that sort of fish out of water character, but I don't think it's not what was popular at the time.
No. And he's wearing the kind of like black on red kind of tunic or whatever, but the shirt under it, the way the pattern flows, it looks like chili pepper fabric, like he just got off a shift at Chili's and was like, and just put a jacket over it.
I thought it was wild that his manager made him wear at least 15 pieces of flair on it. Like, I was like, what are you doing, guys?
This flair is an authentic leprechaun flute. This flair is Bella's blood. This flair is, yeah.
Oh, man.
Anyway, and his vampire voice, odd, but, and this is a thought I had both that time and this time. I feel like he wrote the role of Julius as like a classic Eddie Murphy role, you know?
Yeah, or as like the Arsenio Hall in Coming to America. Like, it's very much that character, yeah.
Right. And instead he's like, I want to be the serious man. You're like, okay. But he immediately dispatches the Italians.
He literally pulls out one of their hearts.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so funny because he ripped out the guy's heart and then that guy has time to say, ouch, before he dies. And I was like, nice. I love that.
My favorite was he then goes behind a car and throws like a bunch of Spirit Halloween body parts up. And he's like, taken care of. I don't know if you're hungry, but I just had Italian. You're just like, what?
He picks an ear out of his teeth later. A whole ear, Paige.
An entire ear.
I've never gotten a piece of food that big stuck in my mouth before and not noticed it until I picked it out with my cocaine pinky nail.
Yeah. He got wild nails in this.
It's amazing. I love it. They're supposed to look like claws. I was here for it. I loved it.
I get it. Yes. But he then feeds Julius some of his blood. And what I do love is Julius does like a kind of like a back and forth, like a vampire faint.
Yeah, like a lean. Like he's dancing with Michael Jackson on stage.
Yes. Also, they stole clearly half of Eddie Murphy's costumes from the Thriller video. So like, perfect.
Well, and the makeup for the ghoul from the Thriller video.
From the Thriller video. On Weekend Update on SNL like 2 weeks ago, they had the original Nosferatu to talk about the new Nosferatu movie.
Nice.
Which I love and we will do as soon as it comes to streaming, absolutely. But original Nosferatu is like, vampires don't do sit-ups. We do one sit-up a day. And it's like this and does like the sit out of the coffin. And I was like, great. In an office chair, no less. Good luck. But this is where he doesn't really tell Julius what being a ghoul entails. But he's like, great, you're my ghoul now. Now you got to know about the plan. So there's a half vampire lady who lives in Brooklyn. I don't know where she is, but we're going to find her. She'll be drawn to me, which I think is how they explain that they immediately meet her. Like literally right away.
I also love that they referenced this dialogue when they wanted to fill in a character trait about Angela Bassett's character. They're like, I don't know, she's drawn to Eddie Murphy. She's an artist. She can draw.
Right. Drawn.
I also really like that Julius was like, what do you want? You want some drugs? You want some girls? And he's like, I'm not interested in your hoes.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it? Oh, this dialogue is amazing. I love it.
Well, yeah, because the first thing he's like, a girl. He's like, I'll find you a girl, any girl. And he's like, it's not just any girl.
Yeah.
This is one specific half vampire, possible half sibling that needs to be drawn to me. But we cut back to the shipwreck, which is a few blocks away.
Yeah.
And the police have arrived, including Detective Angela Bassett, who is beautiful. Angela Bassett is one of the most beautiful humans to ever walk the earth. But like, particularly in this movie, even though they gave her a bad wig, she looks great.
She does look great in this movie. I thought it was wild that they choose to like have a police dog come over.
Yes.
And see them. And then what happens to the police dog is insane. We'll get there in a second. We'll get there.
Oh my God. It's a little bit of, yeah.
Finish what you were saying though, because I have to talk about it.
Oh, absolutely. It's as crazy as the bird in Nightmare 2.
It is.
But she and her partner, Justice, I think it's wild. Her partner's name is Justice, but fine.
I just had to know if that was his first or last name.
I know, right?
Like, is his name Dennis Justice or something? Like
Wayne Justice.
My name's Wayne Justice.
It's me, Dave Justice.
I think that was a baseball player, technically. I don't know.
Really?
I think it was David Justice. I don't know. I'm probably not doing it justice. I have no idea. But I know that is a last name, but like, what could his first name be that's better than Detective?
My name is Legal Justice. Just like,
oh my God.
Double up on the justice names. Anyway, they're investigating the scene because they're like, yeah, we got a ship full of fucking dead bodies that crashed into the port. And then John Witherspoon's over here being like, a giant wolf dog. Like, no, that dog ain't even that. Like 3 or 4 times. It's the biggest dog I've ever seen. It was an aggressively normal sized dog that we saw. But like, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is where we get more exposition because her police captain is like, yeah, how's she doing? I know she hasn't been the same since her mom died in that asylum, but they say nut house. I'm just trying to be nicer. And they're like, I don't know, maybe she's crazy too. And you're like, what is that? What? And like, she's snooping around alone.
Paige, before we move off,
yes,
the precinct captain or whatever she is, did you catch that character's name?
No.
I want you to remember that in Scream,
yes,
think about the person who works for the police force in Scream.
Detective Dewey.
Yes. This is Captain Dewey. I'm not joking. When they introduced this character as Dewey, I was like, what?
What?
He has to have been writing Scream on this set. Like, he has to have been. And that's why this script isn't great, because it got no notes from Wes Craven because he was too busy writing his own masterpiece.
I mean, I had 2 writing jobs at the same time last week where I was writing them both at the same time. And yeah, I'm sure bleed over happened.
It has to. It has to happen, whether he intended to do it or not. Like, I don't think that Detective Dewey in Scream is a nod to his favorite movie thus far, Vampire in Brooklyn or anything, you know? But I think he must have had, like, it must have happened that way. Like, he has to have been writing it during this time.
Right.
It just snuck through that way.
Oh, God. Anyway, she's snooping around. She finds the coffin. She sees herself in the coffin, which I think is her half vampire, half being like, Renesmee, you gotta go be with Jacob or whatever.
You saw how he looked in those Daisy Dukes after he turned back human after he was a wolf? Isn't he wearing like shorts or something when he turns back into a man?
It's because they have to hide shorts around the forest, because whenever they bust out into their wolf, it just ruins clothes. So they just hide clothes and stumps all around the forest.
You know what you could do, though? Is just return to your home as a wolf.
Yeah, you could.
Just install a big doggy door.
Or, hear me out, spandex.
Paige, I swear to God.
See a wolf wearing leggings?
If you see a wolf running through the woods in like yoga pants with a Lululemon logo on the back, I'd lose my mind getting mauled to death by that predator.
But then while you're getting mauled to death, you're like, they are buttery soft.
It's a silly movie, guys. We're having a little too much fun with it, though. I'm sorry. Once we realized that Wes Craven stole every bit of Scream from this and that it is essentially a retelling of the future movie about Jacob falling in love with, her name is Renesmee?
Renesmee. It's a combination of her mom's name, Renee, and Edward's mom's name, Esme. Renesmee.
Oh, man. I'm going to just see that on like r/tragedy subreddit.
It was a trending baby name for a while on Forge. If you're out there and you're named Renesmee, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
If you're too young to be listening to this podcast, but your name is Renesmee, please reach out because your parents did you a not solid, whatever the opposite of a solid is.
That book is over 20 years old. Like that, they are old enough to listen to this podcast, and they can hang out with all the kids named Khaleesi.
Oh, man. Oh, my God. Yes. There are kids named Khaleesi, and I think that's...
Khaleesi's a cooler name.
I agree, but I think that's something that we as a culture have to apologize for because, man, did like those two dudes ruin that show so much that nobody talks about it anymore. So they're just called Khaleesi about a pop culture thing that is not famous anymore.
Well, there is a sequel on TV right now, but...
I know, but no one's named Khaleesi in it.
No, on purpose, I think. I looked up kids named Renesmee. You know how they give baby names or like meaning? They're calling it a French name by origin.
It might be. It sounds like it could be. I honestly have no idea, but
no, it is made up for the stupid book. And the meaning they gave it is Renee, meaning revived or born again, and Esme, meaning beloved or esteemed. In 2023, it was ranked 1,559th in popularity. And in 2024, it was 1,383rd in popularity. Her nickname in the book becomes Nessie.
Oh, just like the dinosaur in Loch Ness. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to look up something really as we're making fun of this name. Okay. It is only slightly less popular than the name Paige.
That's hilarious.
I was like, I know Paige isn't that popular of a name. And I was like, I bet. So Paige is about twice as popular as Renesmee, but that doesn't help it because that still puts me at like 800th. Let's see about Todd.
If Todd's popular, that's the sad thing. Todd's not a great name.
Renesmee is more popular than the name
Come
Todd.
On, let's go. I love it.
By like a couple hundred points, too. I'm glad we did this little detour. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey.
Me too.
Get the Angel Reese special at McDonald's now. Let's break it down. My favorite barbecue sauce, American cheese, crispy bacon, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun, of course. And don't forget the fries and a drink. Sound good? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating restaurants for a limited time.
Hyundai understands the countless challenges drivers face on today's roads. Distracted pedestrians, red light runners, and unexpected obstacles make safety more important than ever. With over 120 IIHS Top Safety Awards since 2006, Hyundai delivers industry-leading protection in every vehicle. The available Blind Spot View Monitor shows you a real-time video feed of your blind spots, while the standard Forward Collision Avoidance Assist works like a vigilant co-pilot, ready to brake when you need it most. And when fatigue sets in, the standard driver attention warning system keeps tabs on your focus, ensuring you stay alert when it matters. Because at Hyundai, your safety isn't just a feature, it's their first priority. Learn more about Hyundai at HyundaiUSA.com. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details. Hyundai vehicles have won over 120 IIHS Top Safety Awards from 2006 to 2024 as of December 2024.
Anyway, back to this movie, because we're about to get to one of the craziest things ever. She sees herself in the coffin, she screams, justice comes, and they're like, there's nothing here, we gotta go. Meanwhile, Julius and Maximilian, who's the vampire?
Yeah, Eddie Murphy's character, Max. Yeah.
He's like, we got to go get my coffin. He's like, where's the coffin? He's like, it's back at the boat wreck. And they're like, oh, shit, because they get there and the police are there. And they're like, we got to distract them somehow. And so they see one police guy with a police dog. And he's like, hold on a second. And he basically like explosion catapults that dog into the ocean.
Paige, when you see like his point of view of the dog, so it's like Eddie Murphy looking down at the dog, and that dog has just, first off, the dog is just a stuffed animal.
Yes.
And under that dog is fireworks that just sort of exploded up. And then you see it cut to like a wider shot with the cop who was holding the leash. And the leash is like up in the air and it kind of comes back down. And he's looking around like the dog just ran off.
Yeah.
Like he didn't see the fireworks that went off at his feet and the dog fly into the air. And he's just like, where's my dog?
Yeah.
And then you see it land in the ocean or in the river, I suppose. I'm assuming dead because the fireworks blew up. Like, it is such an insane shot.
They kill so many animals in this movie, and I
Paige,
hate it.
They kill a cat. He shoots a cat.
I hate it so much.
Actually, I'm not sure if it was him or the Italian man he was playing, but either way, he shoots the cat.
Which made me so upset because that kitty was so cute and so sweet.
I know. When that guy who owned the cat, like when Eddie Murphy shoots it, he goes, Sugar! It's so sweet. It's Eddie Murphy shot it with a gun, and you just see it explode like it's a bird from like Nightmare 2.
Well, and then you see him holding the dead cat for the rest of the scene.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this man, the sequel to this movie is that man going John Wick on vampires. Like,
honestly, would watch.
But the police just kind of wander away from the crime scene.
Well, and the new crime scenes, someone committed dogicide by firework.
Right.
And they're just like, it's fine. We hated that dog anyway, or whatever. I don't know.
Or whatever. So they go get the coffin, they get the coffin and Angela Bassett's like, no, I swear there's a coffin down there. We got to go look at it. She and Justice go back in. There's no coffin, but there's blood everywhere and an ear, which turns out to be Julius's ear.
Yeah.
Because what he doesn't know is that part of being a ghoul is that he starts to like decompose. And I do think, and he like eats bugs and stuff too. It's kind of Renfield-esque.
Yes. I did think it's funny that they position ghouls as like
familiars.
Vampire interns. Like they're like unpaid interns with the possibility of becoming vampires later, which is very familiar. Like that is like what familiars are sort of, except with the aspect of your body is decaying because it's dead, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we cut to he's spying on them at the police station. How he got there, the timing of it, who's to say? But he does eat a roach that he finds like around.
Paige, the Santa Claus beard he's wearing to hide who he is, while also knowing that like they don't know who he is anyway. Like he's not like a suspect or anything. So he's just there in disguise for no reason. Like that made me laugh so much.
Well, and ultimately he's the one that they track down and follow his trail to the vampire. But like, but they don't know at this point.
Yeah, they track him through Unc, but they don't know that yet.
Yeah, they don't know it yet. And so he's like complaining to Eddie Murphy about losing his hand and stuff. And every time we talk to Eddie Murphy, we get more rules and no answers. The same thing happens here.
I do want to set this up because he does lose his hand here. His hand is gone.
Right. Yep.
We see it many times throughout the movie as he has one hand and then one hand is just wearing a white silk glove and he's still using it. There's one scene where he's driving and he's like fanning his neck or whatever because like he's like Eddie Murphy burned him or something when he blew up the radio, and his other hand is just holding the steering wheel, driving the car.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't have a hand anymore. Why do you have a Michael Jackson glove on your left hand or whatever?
It's because later he steals a mannequin hand, which is hilarious because it's like Chubbs' hand from Happy Gilmore.
It is.
But I think they think that the glove covers it, and that
you're supposed to think that mannequin hand is his hand in the glove,
right?
But the mannequin hand has not been set up at the time we see him driving with it.
No, not at all.
It's so funny.
But he overhears at the police station that there's a man named Dr. Zico that they're gonna find to talk to about the ship's log, because when they found the ship's log, it was in a different language. It was super ancient because it's not a ship's log; it's some vampire book.
Yeah.
Anyway, they go to Dr. Zico's club. It's like a dance club.
Dr. Zico. Yeah.
Dr. Zico. They go to his club, which is like a dance club / restaurant / whatever. Like an Afro-Caribbean vibe of like food, music, whatever.
I actually sort of got it because he did come from that region, like because of what the story is about to tell us. And he knew Angela Bassett's mom and like came here to get away from all of that. So like, I I got that his like club, if he started one, would probably be this sort of vibe. I liked it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't know why there's just a random snake around. And a cobra, no less. Not a snake from that part of the world.
I think that it was just like snake night down at this club because there's like a snake wrangler. They're in aquariums.
Yeah.
It looks like they just like set them up and then you dance around the snakes or whatever. And then they take them home at night.
I had no idea they were super Pentecostal. Just kidding. But Eddie Murphy kind of pulls a hard target here. I apologize. Have you seen Hard Target? The Jean-Claude Van Damme?
I've actually only seen that scene in Hard Target because you sent it to me, I don't know, conservatively 8 times.
And
I've
I'll do
watched
it again.
every time. Paige, it's hilarious because, and I'll say it because I'm brave, Jean-Claude Van Damme, come at me, Jean, punches a snake in that movie.
Yeah.
And that's very much how Eddie Murphy saves Angela Bassett, except I guess he just grabs it. He doesn't punch it.
He just grabs it.
But
also, the snake wrangler's like, he's not normally like this. Like the snake, which made me think that the snake could sense that Eddie Murphy was a vampire, and that's why the snake was acting out, because that's what we see with the cat and stuff later.
I assume so. Yeah, I don't know because I don't speak parcel tongue, but like I do think that is the case for this scene. I think it's positioned that way because the snake, like when he sees Eddie Murphy, breaks out of his own cage to try and get over there.
Right. He's like, I imprinted on Renesmee too. You got this length, baby. Anyway.
Gross.
But he hits on Angela Bassett and seems to they don't talk about glamoring in this movie, but it seems to happen a bunch.
I think they allude to it because he has said even before this, it'll just take one dance. She has to agree to like dance with me and then it's over. Like she'll be mine forever or whatever. And he is trying to convince her and it's like, it's going real well. And I think maybe it's just because she can't see all of his hair, but like she's clearly somewhat into it, I guess. And then Julius comes over.
Ruins the moment.
Is the worst wingman ever. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because he's like, he sleeps with all these girls.
Yeah, he's got them lining up.
And she's like, I'm not into that.
Yeah, he's like, I'm no longer interested in this promiscuous vampire that is in front of me.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna hard pass. But she then like, it's almost like she snaps out of it.
Yes, yeah.
Which is why I think it's glamoring, which is the one thing that they don't talk about in this movie that is in all other vampire things of just like, they can you're getting very sexy. Ooh,
I do think when Julius comes over and starts talking, it sort of breaks that trance, and that's why she's able to leave.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Right.
But they don't call it that, but I think that's what they're showing us.
Right. We cut back to her apartment where she and Justice go back to the apartment. She's making him coffee, and he's like, hey, seems like this case is messing with you a little bit. And she's just like, no, sometimes I feel things, and like there's something to Dr. Zico's theory, because while they were at the club, Dr. Zico was like, it's vampires, and she's just like, what? And Justice was like, okay, I'm leaving. This is useless. And she's like, tell me more about the vampires.
Yeah. But is this where Justice meets the personification of the Prince song Dirty Nikki?
Yes, Darling Nikki, you mean.
Who also just happens to be named Nikki?
Yeah, Darling Nikki.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she is forward, is what I will say.
Yeah, she's a little Nikki looking for a bigger Dickie. I get it. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
And she and Justice is like, I'm gonna get out of here. Like, whatever. And Angela Bassett clearly from day one has a thing for Justice, which like, I get it, girl.
Paige, have you seen him and his name is Justice? Are you kidding me?
I mean,
from the Connecticut Justices, just I? How do you say it?
Of the Manhattan Justices?
I guess it would be the Manhattan because they're in New York City. That makes sense, yeah.
Yes. But while this is happening, Eddie Murphy is looking through the windows with thriller eyes. And you know what I mean.
Thriller eyes. One look at you and your vampire eyes. Thriller eyes. Yes, 100%. I also like that he's crawling down like he's crawling down from the roof.
Yeah.
I sort of love that perspective of it too, because it feels very creepy.
So Justice leaves. He's like, I'm out. And Nikki, the roommate, follows him down to the street and literally like kisses his neck, which like, if I had this confidence when I was younger, oh boy. Like, I have never, aside from my husband whomst I am married to, I don't think I have ever had the confidence to just walk up and kiss somebody's neck. That is a wild intrusion of their personal space.
I think it's a wild swing, and it doesn't work for her, but
no.
I bet she has a pretty decent success ratio.
Oh, I bet her returns are fantastic.
Yeah.
Because literally, he walks away, and she is like, oh, well.
That's how you know, by the way, that like she usually seals the deal with that first move.
Yeah.
Because she is sort of like, whatever, I'll find literally anybody else. Like she has the confidence of someone who Prince would write a song about, guys. Seriously, go listen to Dirty Nikki. It is the dirtiest. Nikki. Sorry, yeah. Go listen to Darling Nikki. It is the dirtiest song. I love it.
But also great, famous, love it.
Yeah.
Written over pancakes after a night of basketball.
Oof. That's what Prince calls sweet, sweet amore. But it still is just basketball.
It's still just basketball. It's him and the guys from Shalimar. But she then takes Max upstairs for very loud murder sex.
Yes.
Which, like, it's been a long ass time since I've had a roommate. Long ass time. Maybe I'm a prude. If my roommate just randomly brought home a full-on stranger off the street that they did not know until seconds before, we'd have a problem because that person's not allowed to know where I live or be in my house around my stuff.
Paige, that person doesn't yet know you even live there.
Right? Yeah. Not okay. We could have to renegotiate our lease, I think.
I have a question. And this is like, I don't want to sound insensitive.
Sure.
But like, it's a legit question. And so like, if you're a woman and you're picking up a stranger to bring home.
Sure.
To have sex with, like to sleep with.
Uh-huh.
Do you think you would need to like let that person know before any sex takes place that the keyhole to your room is on its period?
No, I think you'd be able to tell from the maxi pads just stuck to the door.
I would have lost my mind if like at some point in the movie she opens that with like a tampon looking like key.
Just turns.
Pull the string out, open the door. Anyway, I thought that shit was hilarious. Like, why would blood be coming out the keyhole? There's no reason for that. Like, at all.
Yeah, unless it went full Shining. But also, can we have a moment for the fact that every single door of this apartment is a French door?
I know. Paige.
With glass windows, which means she would have been able to see and hear.
Yeah. Well, she does. She does see and hear. Well, not see because the blinds are pulled on the French doors, I guess. But she does like take her painting out to the terrace by the train so she can't hear them.
Where she's just like, angry painting.
Yeah.
Angry painting.
Because she thinks her cop partner is banging her roommate, which I realize would be strange, but like, you're not dating. Like,
yeah, no,
that's your coworker, ma'am. Although there is a lot of sexual tension because Justice looks the way Justice looks.
Yeah, girl.
And so does Angela Bassett. Like, Angela Bassett's a Stone Cold Fox too. So like, when you have two people this hot together, someone's getting pregnant. And it may not be either of them, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, with a vampire baby, which brings us back to the topic of today's episode, vampire pregnancy.
Right.
Let's get into it. In Blade, they say.
So in Blade, though, the mom gets bit while she's going into labor, right? Or maybe getting bit puts her into labor, right? So the father of Blade isn't a vampire.
Right.
But
his mom becomes a vampire as she's giving birth, which by then he would be like full grown. So like that doesn't really.
But also like in that series, there are vampires who get other vampires pregnant and there are pure blood, quote, vampires.
Yes. But it's really like hard to do. And like now that you're saying it, I'm thinking like it's the last blood from the umbilical cord is how he gets vampire blood, and that's how he becomes a daywalker.
Yes.
Boy, am I sad there's not another Blade.
They're making new ones, right? With Mahershala Ali or something?
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I'm so excited. I mean, like,
me either.
I want another Wesley Snipes one for us to do.
And if that line doesn't contain a variation on the best line from Blade, I'm going to be very upset.
Some motherfuckers trying to be ice skating uphill.
It should be some motherfuckers always trying to roll a blade uphill.
I said that at work this week, where we were working on a big project we've been working on it for a long time, and we encountered a problem that seemed to be a self-perpetuating problem, and I literally it was the first thing that came to mind, and I was exhausted, and I was just like, some motherfuckers always try to be ice skating uphill, and they're like, what? And I was like,
right.
Anyway, we get a voiceover, because this movie uses voiceover whenever it thinks the story is not clear, which is a lot. And so in this voiceover, he's like, we got to remove everything in her life. So like he kills the roommate, makes it look like the roommate moved out. And he's like, we got to take her support system and then give it back. And I was like, is this the dentist system? Detach and then like need or whatever. And I was like, this is bad, girl. This is bad.
Yeah.
He likes to bound and be bound. He needs his tools.
He does need his tools. I did think it was hilarious that like Angela Bassett found Nikki's note that said, hey, I got dicked down so good by Justice. I'm moving into my own place because what happened last night is going to happen on the regular, and I don't want you to have to deal with that. And Angela Bassett's response was like mad about Justice, but didn't at all disagree that it was time for Nikki to move out. And I thought that was funny.
Well, my favorite part of it is like, I got dicked down so bad that I moved. She's like, oh, I knew Justice could bring it like that.
Yeah.
Like, it was so funny.
And I want to remind you, she's standing in the room that moments ago was so filled with blood that it was coming out the keyhole. And there is no evidence of foul play outside of just someone getting dicked down.
Yeah.
Outside of that, nothing is amiss.
Nothing is amiss. But she's like, I got a lot of stuff to think about. I got to go somewhere where I can like talk to somebody. And they're like following her. Maximilian and Julius are following her because she goes to a church. And this is where she encounters her pastor, who seems to be a cast member
Clump?
from the Clumps. Yeah, Pastor Clump.
100%. It's just Eddie Murphy, like in a little bit fatter suit.
As Al Sharpton.
Yes, doing his best Al Sharpton impression. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yes.
Yes, yeah. And he goes to the church and he's like, "Ooh, I can't go in the church. Let's go outside." And he does like a sermon that turns into a song about evil is good. And no one questions it. Everyone's like, he's got a point.
Yeah. He literally like tells everybody's sins in the audience.
Yes.
He's like outing dudes for sleeping with sex workers in front of their wives or whatever. And he's like, it's good though. It's good.
Yeah.
Ass is good. Getting booty is good. And he's like talking about it. It's honestly very funny. And I think more preachers should preach this type of stuff than what most people are.
I mean, this does kind of fall in line with a greed is good speech.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I want more people learning it.
But I think if religious organizations were like positioning evil things and evil people as, or quote, evil people as like
complicated humans.
Yeah, they're like, they exist in the world and we could like help maybe remove them from that situation. Or maybe that's the choice that they've made and they like that part of their life and don't want to change it, but we should still love them. Like, I actually kind of like that message that the literal vampire in this movie is shouting from outside, but as a church figure at a church.
Yeah, as a church figure at a church. And the point, if the thesis statement of his body paragraph is, in order for good to exist, you need a binary of evil to shine the light on the good.
Right.
But then it immediately devolves into like, you use sex workers, you do this, you drink, you do drugs.
Yeah.
Anyway, Angela Bassett is in the audience watching this. Justice finds her and is like, hey, we got to go. We got to lead. The 2 dead bodies from the alley are mob guys. We got to go talk to the mob guy.
Right. And this is where I would say they start to come apart as a couple or a partner couple, right? They've never dated, but they're clearly into each other. But she sees Nikki's like lipstick on Justice's collar and thinks that they just
on his collar,
right?
Perfume on it too. My voice is bad. I'm so sorry.
She was one step away from asking to smell his dick. Like she had enough confirmation with just the lipstick though, so she didn't need it. But that we know because we saw the movie that got there when she kissed his neck and he left, right?
Right.
But that is like enough confirmation for her to be like, this is gross. I don't want this anymore, right?
Yeah. Why you coming home 5 a.m? Something's going on.
Did you vamp my dick?
Anyway, they go to the Italian restaurant. Meanwhile, Eddie Murphy becomes Guido he goes into Guido as the person. He does explain that he can only go into people with evil intent. And so the preacher had like a drinking problem and that's how he was able to kind of, that he was hiding from people and whatever.
Yeah.
So they go to the Italian restaurant. Guido holds them up and is trying to basically kidnap her, but also find out what her favorite Italian foods are, but also stay away from garlic in an Italian restaurant. restaurant. Good luck.
Well, he's like knocking it down and shit, right?
Yeah, and he's like shooting at it. He's like, get this garlic bread out of here. He like knocks a waiter over with a giant tray of just garlic bread.
Dude, the stuntman that performed that stunt deserves a raise because he fell down and his neck rolls down those like 4 steps.
Yeah.
Like I know it was a stunt. I know that's his job. That hurt. Like there's no way that did not hurt so bad.
You can really hurt yourself that way if you don't like tuck your head. Yeah, it's bad.
And I'm sure he's a professional and like did a great job. There's no way it didn't hurt on some level. When I saw it, I was like, that's great. That's a lot of commitment from that one dude.
Yeah.
But he does like hold all of them like hostage for a second, take Angela Bassett. Oh shit, when they throw all their guns on the ground and someone throws down like a scimitar.
Yeah.
I was like, this movie is just fucking around and I love it.
But this is unfortunately where he shoots the cat and I hate it. But I will watch the John Wick movie about it after.
And I would love it if it was that dude, like a middle-aged, portly, balding gangster who goes full-ass like John Wick.
He's like cradling the dead cat. I was like, I would go John Wick if somebody killed my cat.
Yeah. I honestly understood why John Wick happened the way it happened. I was like, oh, I would murder everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and they managed to take Guido back to the police station and he's like turning them against each other. She ends up slapping Justice and then Justice is trying to punch Guido and then Guido like telepathically communicates to another lady to like try to kill the cop.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, okay.
Dude, that religious woman turns on that cop like she was there January 6, 2021. Like it was crazy. She grabbed whatever she could find just in the police station or grounds in front of the Capitol and tried to kill a cop with it.
Yep. She does not succeed.
No.
But this allows Eddie Murphy to escape and turn back into himself and be like, oh, he went that way or whatever.
Right.
Meanwhile, they suspend Angela Bassett for 2 days. So she goes outside and she's like all mad and he just is like, oh, hey, fancy meeting you again. Do you want to eat? I know it's late.
He saves her life again. She's like walking to the street and almost gets hit by like a taxi or it's a vehicle. I can't remember what it was.
I think Julius is driving the taxi.
He probably is. That would have been a great like subtle nod to them like controlling all of the circumstances that lead to her falling for him. But yeah, he does like jump in and save her and she's like, oh, thank you for saving my life again. And he sort of does apologize for the weirdness at the club. Like he's trying to win her back over, right?
Yeah.
And this is where he's like, do you want to go grab some dinner?
Right.
I could make us some food. And he mentions the favorite pasta that she mentioned earlier.
Fusilli.
Yeah. So she's like, sure. And he's like, I'll send a car to pick you up.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends. Like, that's where the scene ends.
Yes.
And then it cuts to Justice pulling up in front of her house, trying to like, you like rev yourself up for like a big talk.
Yes.
And he's like role playing how the conversation is going to go, at least from his side. And he is like, he does a good one where it's like, hey, I'm bad talking about my feelings, but I got to tell you how I feel. And then I think he like, as a joke to himself, performatively is like, hey, listen, I'm the man and you're going to listen to me because I'm the, and then that's the one she sees him doing.
Right.
It to me is so funny. Like I've done shit like that.
I have absolutely done this. He absolutely was not going to go with that one. He was testing the range.
Oh, I think he was just like trying to make light of the moment because it is,
yes.
I think in his mind, he is going there to be like, I love you. Can we please, like during this 2-day suspension where technically we're not partners at work.
Right.
Can we just like bone down for 2 days and see if this works before we go in and ask Courtney Cox's brother to like give us other partners so we can get it because in Scream his name is Dewey.
Right.
In this movie it's not a man. Their boss is a woman who's named Captain Dewey, but still.
Yeah.
The joke holds is all I'm saying.
That must be why Dewey got into it. Yeah. He was like, I just want to be like my Aunt Dewey or Sister Dewey or whatever Dewey.
Oh my God, if that is their mom, Paige.
Oh my God.
I guess we don't ever meet Gail's mom, right? So that could technically be Gail's mom.
Wait, Gail and Dewey aren't siblings, they're lovers.
Well, who's to say? I guess that's right. But we never meet Dewey's mom.
Right. Dewey does have a sister.
Right.
It's just not Gail.
Yeah. I messed the character name up. I'm sorry. But you're right. And we never meet their mom, right?
I don't think so.
So it could be. It could be, guys.
It could be.
I love that Scream and Vampire in Brooklyn are connected this way. I love it so much.
I think you mean Scream and pre-Twilight, but...
It's technically post-Twilight. Like, this is the Twilight movie we're going to get in 30 years from when the last one was, and they're going to continue Jacob's story. I honestly...
But it's canonically released first, like episode 4 versus Phantom Menace.
Oh, I love it.
Anyway, she gets all dressed up. She gets in his limo. Justice is like, oh shit, like no.
Dude, okay, but if you were going, this is like your nightmare. If you're going to this girl's house who you know really well and are ready to tell her you love her, and she's like, I can't have this conversation now. I got a date. He's sending a car, and you're like, oh, word, like an Uber? And this fucking limo pulls up, and she just like a one-handed man who's clearly got two hands, but one's in a silk white glove, and he uses the silk white glove to open the door for her.
To open the door of the limo.
Oh my God. Anyway, I actually don't know if in that scene he does, but he does use the hand.
A lot.
It's nuts. But anyway, so she gets in the car, closes the door, and drives off. Like, that is the most like emasculating feeling I think you would ever experience in your life.
It's just a bad feeling regardless.
Yes. I mean, like, as a man who is doing that, I would be like, oh, fuck, I don't make enough. I'm not hot enough, and I can't get Angela Bassett in these sheets in these streets.
Ooh, oof. Anyway, we cut to, she gets to his apartment, and it's all jacked except for his portion of the apartment, and we get the voiceover of like, had she come 1 minute earlier, she would have seen me casting all manner of spells. And I was like, what is his powers?
Every time, well, one of his powers, Paige, is telepathy into our brains as the viewer, because we do hear his voiceover a lot, and it does sort of seem like they all start off with, I bet you're wondering how I got here.
He's like, so I made her a holodeck in my home.
That's essentially what it is, because they live in Julius's place, right? Which is very much like a slum, sort of. In fact, Unc owns the building.
Right, and is letting Julius live there for like free, I think.
Yeah. But she walks in, and there's like, it's like beautiful vases, and there's like
it looks like the lobby of a hotel with a Pier 1 imports amount of candles.
I would never have said it that way, but only because I couldn't come up with the perfect description for it.
Thank you.
Because that is exactly what it is. Except that hotel lobby also has an original Van Gogh in it.
Oh my God. The fact that she's like, is that original Van? I was like, bitch, you think anyone outside of a museum has an original Van Gogh? Like, you're just going to walk into somebody's house and see an original Van Gogh, and that person is not a literal Bond villain? If you see an original Van Gogh in somebody's house, fucking run.
Yeah.
No good people have that.
Yeah. If I see an original Van Gogh, I'm like, I'm going to Van Gogh the fuck away. Like, this is not a good place for anyone to be.
You know what an original Van Gogh comes with? Lasers and a weird table where they want to cut into your dick, or a thing of sharks.
With also lasers on their heads.
With lasers on their heads. Who throws a shoe? Honestly.
Honestly, I did love that they like really lean into Van Gogh having visions, and that's like they both connect over, because Angela Bassett actually has,
oh my God, and all the lost ears.
Paige, hang on 1 second. I really wanted him to use the ear bit instead of having visions bit to connect with her over Van Gogh, because she is having visions, but I wanted him to have a different reason to like Van Gogh, and I wanted him to be like, see, me and Van Gogh are like pretty much the same, because like once I was fighting with this one person I had been intimate with, and they were mad at me. And so I cut off my ear and sent it to them. So just like Van Gogh, I could be like, listen, I'm sick of hearing your shit. If you want to yell at me, yell at the ear, because it's not going to be connected to this dude anymore. You can get fucked. I'm assuming that's why Van Gogh did that. Like, I don't know of any other reason that makes sense other than yell at this box with my ear in it, because I'm fucking done with your shit.
I have no idea if that was it. I hope it was, because that'd be the best. I think it was, unfortunately, mental illness.
It was, I think, yeah.
Caused by both just regular mental illness, but then also an inhalation of fumes. But like,
I don't know. Back at that time, it also could have been shit like syphilis eating their brain. It was a long time. It could have been anything. I don't know if he had syphilis, but like it could have been anything.
Brain worms.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of thing you don't want somebody running the World Health Organization or whatever about.
I welcome our new brain worm overlord, whatever its name is going to be.
Who knows? But God damn it. That's what I believe now about Van Gogh, is that it was just a spite ear for some lady to shout at. Love that.
Paige, the first time I told that joke was the only time I got laughs at an actual stand-up that I did in college. The rest of that set bombed. But it was an open mic. You know, like when you're like brand new starting out doing stuff, like you're not great at it. That was me. Yeah. That was the only joke I told in the first set I ever did that got laughs.
When I was doing stand-up the other day, I went up after like 4 straight comics had bombed.
Yeah.
And like the guy right before me had gotten a little bit of headway in the room by talking about porn, but then had immediately lost all the momentum. And I was like, well, this is gonna suck. And so I walked on stage and I was like, yeah, I don't usually like watching porn because they always be making ladies my size get stuck in stuff. And it murdered. I was like, great, we're back. Amazing.
I would like to say that the person who led into me and the reason my set bombed largely was because they weren't good, but they were great. I can't remember. Their name was Billy, and they were gay, and they were out, and like we were in the South.
Okay.
And they were just making fun of like the whole premise of the bit was like in a very fun way making fun of like homophobia and stuff.
Yeah.
And it fucking crushed, man.
I believe it.
And I was like so arrogant because it was the first time I had done it and I had never written a joke for public consumption. I was like, oh man, I'm so glad we're gonna kill tonight. Anyway, I did stand up one more time and that was it. That was the last time I did stand up.
Anyway, so she thinks this motherfucker has a real Van Gogh.
Well, I mean, it's all for show. The Van Gogh is all for show, Paige, because it's like she stepped into a vampire holodeck. Yeah. It's not real.
Yeah. And so they do the dance and she gets like super into it. Like she is feeling it. She should be getting it. Getting while the getting is good. She is into it.
Yeah.
And he's like, can I? Like, it's weird that there's consent in this moment, but vampires big on consent. They have to be invited in. It's like a whole thing. Anyway.
Which is like, I liked that actually. Like that he can't turn her into the love of his life without her asking him to.
Right. Yeah. And so he bites her. So she begins to turn. Thus begins the longest part of the film.
It's so slow, guys. Like literally since he's been Pastor Clump, it's just so slow. And not much is happening. She goes home. Like, he just, like, lets her go home. Yeah.
And who is waiting for her but Justice? And she immediately starts, like, making out with Justice.
Justice the person. Sorry.
Yes,
guys, to be clear.
Not the concept.
Right, not the concept of someone having something that they're due getting that.
Not the blind scales and,
right.
you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
It's the Thickums Justice.
Right. Justice. And they start making out. And now, here's the thing. There is also a request for consent in this moment, but I kind of think it's hotter where he just says, he kind of like stops her and is like, do you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, hot.
Well, she's like kissing his neck.
Yeah, just like Nikki did, but he didn't want Nikki to. Like, he was not into Nikki.
Guys, it would be over. Are you serious? No.
If Angela Bassett kissed your neck, yeah. If Angela Bassett kissed my neck.
If Natalie was kissing my neck, I'd be like, oh, do you know what you're doing right now?
Do you know what you're doing? My mouth is over here, dumbass.
That shit. Oh my God. If it was like that kind of do you know what you're doing? Like not this is really sexy, but I don't know if you want to have sex with me, or
right.
Are you an idiot? Have you never kissed before? Like those are two different line deliveries of the same line.
Are you a baby? Yeah.
Oh my God. That shit would have been so funny. Do you even know what you're doing?
Do you even know what you're doing? But she starts to kind of turn partially into a vampire, aka Thunderdome Tina Turner.
Yes.
That is what she looks like. But she's like, no. And so she like goes to Max, and Max is like, great, you just gotta like feed, basically.
Yeah, it's the whole like, you are turning, but you will either die or feed.
Right.
So like she's not full vampire yet, which is what Dr. Zeta or whatever his name was.
Dr. Zako.
Yeah, which is what Dr. Zako says to Justice, I think. Like once she feeds, she's a full-on vampire. Right now she's like in this limbo in between status.
I apologize to anyone who doesn't know the 4 levels that it takes for that Dr. Zako joke of like A, knowing Amadeus,
right.
B, watching The Simpsons, C, a specific Simpsons episode in which it's Planet of the Apes the musical,
yep.
And they do Dr. Zaius,
yep.
to the tune of Amadeus.
Paige,
layers.
It's a joke that 9 people are going to laugh at, and I'm going to do it every time we say his name.
It's wild that we both were like, I know exactly what you're,
Paige, this works because we're both the same kind of nerd.
That's what's up.
We just have different chromosomes about it.
Yeah. Anyway, he's like, you're a vampire. That's why you've never been sick. That's why you've never broken a bone, which that would have been my first clue. But this is also like in True Blood. That's how you find out that Sookie, spoiler, is a fairy, is because she's also never been sick or whatever.
Well, it's also how you find out Bruce Willis is unbreakable, Paige. Like, that happens. It happens.
Yeah,
it
that's
happens.
right.
I technically never broken a bone, guys.
I broke a toe.
Is that a bone, Paige?
Yeah, there's bones in your toes.
I know.
Todd. All 20 of them.
Not bones, guys. It's a callback to when she thought you had 20 toes.
20 toes.
Not you specifically, person in your car. I mean, like,
Me.
Paige had 20 toes.
Me have 20 toes.
Oh my God, Paige. I was at the equity company that has a large stake in my company, invited all the department heads to this summit or whatever.
Great.
I was there.
Cool.
For a mandatory fun event, we all went and learned line dancing. And of course I fucking was there and like learning line dancing and just being a ham on the floor. Anyway, the instructor said, this dance has 40 moves to it. And I said aloud, well, I'm going to need some of us to take our shoes off because I can't count that high. And I didn't know it, but the lady who organized, who like owns not owns, but like works at the company at a high level, who like owns the company that owns my company, like lost her fucking mind. She was right next to me.
That was, I can't do line dancing. I'm so bad at it.
Paige, let me teach you this 40-step move I learned.
All right, let me take off both my shoes.
I'll say this. I grew up in Nashville. I only line danced in the 8th grade because Henry Ford was a racist. Google it.
What?
And if you haven't danced line dancing in years and years, like decades, like
Sure.
It's easy to pick up. It was fun. I actually had a good time. I wouldn't want to go out and do it socially, but like as a
Sure.
mandatory fun event, it was all right. I've done worse.
My problem is rights and lefts. It's one of my weird ADHD quirks where I have a very tenuous concept of right and left. I know I am right-handed, but like I rarely know my rights and lefts immediately. And so like even like driving, I'm a landmark driver. Like, so it's more, am I going towards or away from? And if I'm driving with a GPS, I have to look at the GPS to know which direction I'm turning. I can't help it. It has always been this way. As a kid, I wore my shoes backwards a lot because I couldn't figure it out.
When you said backwards, though, I pictured on the right foot, but backwards.
Backwards. Yeah.
Guys, this just proves that literally some of the smartest people you know are still sort of dumb about something.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
I used to have a joke about this where a friend thought they were being helpful. They're like, I'm going to get you stickers for the inside of your car. But those stickers said port and starboard. And I was like, this isn't helpful at all.
They might as well just say this way and that away.
And
like,
that way.
If we're just going to make up words, boats, stop it.
Stop it. But it was one of those things where I was like,
Because starward should be up.
right?
I guess it's starboard, not
It's
starward.
starboard.
But still.
But still, I was like, that's like if I told you I couldn't tell cats and dogs apart and you were like, don't worry, I got stickers that said hamster and fish. Like, that doesn't help me either.
Exactly that, yes.
But that's why line dancing is so difficult. The best I can do is like the Cupid Shuffle, basically.
And the Harlem Shake. I bet you could do a killer Harlem Shake.
Harlem Shake. But I struggle with the electric slide and other dances of the like.
Paige, let me teach you. I'm going to teach you the electric slide. Of course we did that, yeah.
I can Dougie, but you know, that doesn't require the rights and lefts. But yeah, it's moving. I literally will always be a beat off because I'm always having to look at where everyone else is moving. So yeah, this has just been a little bit about me.
Maybe line dancing isn't for you, Paige.
It's not for me. It's fine. It's fine. And I also love that people are like, well, your left hand's the one that makes an L. And I'm like, is that the way L goes? It's my brain's broken in this very specific way.
I've been told that too, like when I was a child learning the concept of left and right, Paige.
Sure.
And I'll say mastering the concept. And,
yeah, that's fair.
But as a dyslexic person, that one didn't help me at all.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And you know what? I bet there's a lot more people out there who struggle with left and right too. Sound off in the Facebook group. Anyway.
Oh, there's tons of shit. really dumb about, even though I'm smart about some things. Like, that's very normal. Like, I've met a ton of surgeons who were like some of the best at orthopedic surgery or whatever, but like couldn't figure out how much to tip at a restaurant. Like, it's that kind of thing. Like, they're just really good at what they went to school for.
Doctors are terrible at percents.
Is
something I have learned working in the medical industry. It's wild.
It's weird.
Percents I can nail. But yeah, I consider my lack of left and right ability a disability. I consider it related to my mental health issues. And that's fine. So anyway, this is where he's like, you got to be a vampire like me. They're like, don't you want to do this? And he like floats and then flaps. And then he's like,
When he shakes the cape, I laughed. We talked about it. I don't want to go into it again, but like, it was hilarious, guys.
It's pretty great. But this is also where he's like, your father sent me to you. So so he's definitely not her father, but maybe her half brother. Anyway, before he died, and her mom, and this is where he says, he's like, when your father died, that's why your mom lost her mind and died, even though it would imply that she lived a fairly normal life and raised Angela Bassett, but then whatever.
For years. Yeah.
Years. Anyway, he was killed by humans, whatever. We cut to Dr. Zako's place. And who should show up but Justice? And Dr. Zako's like, whew, it's you. Good.
Not the concept of justice, although maybe, but also a detective named Justice.
Right. And Dr. Zako's like, good thing it was you, because 50-50, it was the vampire and I was fucking dead. So I was just sitting here, basically.
Right. He's like, I'm relieved it's you. Take this awesome Ankh dagger.
Yes. See this symbol that looks like it belongs to Prince? It's a knife.
Well, it looks like it belongs to Prince if Prince started his own church. Because an Ankh is like the circular top on the top of a cross, right?
Yes.
That's what an Ankh is. I know you're about to talk about Prince's symbol. Yeah.
Prince's symbol is what's called a hermaphroditic Ankh.
Right.
Because it has both male and female symbols attached to it, and was custom designed for him. And he then made almost every print ad in America when they went to go release his next album, custom graphic design it so they could type it out, because he was no longer going by Prince.
Yeah, he was the artist formerly known as Prince because he had to get out of a record contract.
Yes,
and
yes.
Good for him.
Good for him.
I wish Silver Tide had done the same thing.
That's how we got that wild Batman soundtrack. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of bands get screwed because they like sign over the rights to their name to the record label, and that's what Prince had done early on. So this was his way of fucking them over. And I was like, good for you, Prince. You creative genius.
Yeah, I am a part of a thing that had to rename for exactly those same reasons. Yep. And yeah, it's always a pain in the ass. And fuck you, Viacom. So, anyway, but he's like, Rita's changed. She's seeing things in her dreams. We found Nikki's dead body in the same place that her painting was, which is a very interesting piece of the case that they spend 2 seconds on way too late in the movie. This could be like a Seven style movie with a vampire serial killer, but no, it's this.
Yeah.
But so he's got a new painting and he's like, I'm worried this might happen. And it's definitely a painting of Angela Bassett and Eddie Murphy making out. He's like, this was her nightmares.
Because he says she's seeing things in her dreams. And then Dr. Zako is like, what kind of dreams? And he goes, nightmares. And then he opens the parchment or what is it, canvas that the painting is on, and it's just like Angela Bassett and Eddie Murphy making out, which if that was me making out with Eddie Murphy, that isn't a nightmare. Like, I'm not into it. Angela Bassett's maybe a different story. I would feel bad because I love my wife, but it wouldn't gross me out so much.
It's just a dream. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just a dream. Yeah.
Enjoy making out with Angela Bassett.
And I'm not saying, well, I am saying it. I don't think I'd enjoy it with Eddie Murphy, but I thought it was funny because Angela Bassett's clearly into Eddie Murphy, but so Justice is into Angela Bassett. So he's like, it's a nightmare. Look, they're making out. And I thought that shit was so funny.
Oh, but this is where Dr. Zako is like, hey, I came from the island in the Bermuda Triangle that has the vampires. I knew her mom and dad. I didn't realize her mom had a baby, but clearly she did. So she's a half vampire, and you've got to get to her before she feeds.
Can I pause you right there before you move on?
Yes.
Because what that posits is Angela Bassett's mom came to the Bermuda Triangle, and they hired Dr. Zako as her guide.
Yes.
And then had a confrontation with this vampire in which, over the course of it, she got pregnant. And then they kill that vampire together.
Right.
Flee to America. And the second they get off the plane or the boat or whatever, Dr. Zako's like, peace out. Have fun. I'll see you never. And like, doesn't ever check in with Angela Bassett's mom. And that to me is nuts. There's no way they're not deeply in love after going through that together.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to the park where Eddie Murphy has tried to scope out someone for her to feed on. And it's a bitchy lady in the park that happens to be Jerry Hall, who was married to Mick Jagger at this time.
What? That is amazing.
Burned fun fact.
Another fun fact, Paige. The dog's name was Mick Jagger. She's holding a poodle. It doesn't say what the dog's name is. Or she's walking a poodle. I don't.
And they've been married for many years. No, I'm kidding. But
living in Caledonia for quite some time.
Anyway, Eddie Murphy jumps down there and she's like, oh, no, I understand the plight of Black America against the white capitalist, and then just pepper sprays him immediately.
Well, it doesn't do anything because he then bites her neck. Yeah.
Yeah. The dog runs away. But at this point, he turns full vampire and he looks like a Klingon.
Yeah, he does.
And
that's fair.
Angela Bassett's like, no, I can't do this. No. And she tries to run to the church, but she can't go in. And he's like, you got to feed. Like, it's too late. And so he packs her into the limo and is like, Julius, let's pack. We're going to go back to the islands tomorrow. Don't worry about it. So they get her back to the apartment and they bring Unc in, and he bites Unc and tries to get her to drink Unc's blood.
Yeah.
And thankfully she doesn't. And Justice and Dr. Zako show up just in time to knock Julius's eyeball out.
Really quick. I'm sorry. I forgot about that. That is a very funny part. But he doesn't bite Unc. He punctures his neck with his fingernails, which is important because Unc does not turn. Unc is fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thus ensues a fight where lots of candles are knocked over. And Dr. Zako tries to stake him, but stakes him in the stomach, not the heart.
It's been decades since he last fought a vampire, and he forgot where the heart was.
He forgot.
Yeah.
He forgot.
But Maximilian does like, this is my stomach, this is my heart.
Yeah.
You suck at this. And then he tries to kill him, but he doesn't.
Yep. And so he kind of knocks him off, and he then disapparates into the other room, like kind of locked room.
Yeah.
Justice, basically after dispatching Julius, Julius is busy chasing his eye and shit.
Yeah.
He then goes into that room and tries to get Angela Bassett, and she's like, it's too late for me. She turns into a vampire. Full Tina Turner again.
Yeah.
And they get into a fight. She overpowers Justice, but she takes the knife and stakes Eddie Murphy because she's like, there's a part of me that loves you so much. We didn't see it on the screen. They just danced that one time. But she's like, that part of me must die. And as he's dying, he's like, I told you were a killer. And he disappears. The holodeck fades away.
Yeah.
There's a John Woo dove. And as the John Woo dove flies away and the vampire disintegrates, his ring falls out the window of the apartment onto the sunroof of the limo below.
Yeah.
She, Angela Bassett, grabs her crucifix necklace off the floor and basically is like, okay, Justice, let's make out. Super excited. Great.
It's about time.
About time. We cut to the street where we are in the limo. It's the one thing that hasn't disintegrated from the vampire. And Julius is like, hell yeah, we got a limo, Unc. Let's go. So Unc gets in the driver's seat. He's going to drive the limo. And as Julius is in the back and moves the sunroof, the ring falls in. He puts it on. It makes him back to normal. He's now a vampire that allegedly has a giant dick, per his assertion.
Yeah.
And he says, there's a new vampire in Brooklyn. It's Julius Jones. And we do get a fun story from Unc in the background where he won the Indy 5,000 twice. Indy 500? 5,000?
The actual race is 500, yes.
500. He won the Indy 500 twice. And that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what do you think about Vampire in Brooklyn?
Honestly, it does drag in the back half. It absolutely does. But until then, it's pretty fun. It's a fun movie to introduce people to.
Yes.
Because they don't know what they're in for, and it's bonkers.
I feel the same way. And we talked about this a lot. I sort of love the first half of the movie. It's very slow, the second half. But I don't think I'll watch it again because I don't think it's an amazing movie. I did enjoy watching it because of, you kind of know it's Eddie Murphy's passion project, and it's sort of fun to see him not nail it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's still not a bad movie. I mean, Wes Craven's a great director. He was writing a great movie at this time when he was making this one. So the movie's like shot and acted fine. It's just like the script isn't perfect. But it is definitely a movie I might show to people. You know, like if I was wanting to blow their mind about an Eddie Murphy movie that time had almost forgotten, I would want to show them this.
Yep.
But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts. Murphy,
Vampire fun facts. We'll start with a not so fun fact. Sonia Davis, Angela Bassett's stunt double on this movie, died in a 42-foot fall on the set.
What?
Yes. Now.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I just sang fun facts.
I know. I'm sorry.
And you started with a death.
I'm so sorry. Sonia was an incredibly accomplished stunt performer. She was in Time Cop and The Fear.
What?
And Live Wire, a bunch of stuff. She was.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It's a super sad. Now, there is a rumor, and Eddie Murphy seems to have kind of confirmed this in interviews, that part of the reason he made this movie, and it was his passion project, was because Paramount agreed to release The Nutty Professor's rights in exchange for finishing his movie deal with the studio. He had to make a certain amount of movies to fulfill his contract.
Okay.
That same interview is where he said that the wig his character wore was so awful it made people immediately despise the film.
Okay.
Now, in an interview with Wes Craven, he has suggested that Eddie Murphy ignored his request to play this character more vulnerable and tried to play it comedic, even though that don't work. But vulnerable would have been kind of interesting. It would have been more of a classic Dracula kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Now, Eddie Murphy would not write another story for a script until 12 years later in 2007. That was Norbit, also co-written by Charlie Murphy shortly before his death. So, that said, Wes Craven has used a lot of the other people in this movie in other things.
Yes.
So, this becomes his kind of stable of actors in a while.
Yeah, it's like his troupe.
Yeah, it's like his troupe. Charlie Murphy, conversely, to contrast what Wes Craven had said that this movie was supposed to be a straightforward horror film, and Wes Craven's the one that brought the comedy to it. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So John Witherspoon's character, Silas, or Unc, says bang, bang, bang when referring to sex, just like his character did in Boomerang, which is another one we've done on Romancing the Pod. But that's the one with the clothes and the colors coordinating is basically in that same section. Yeah. Wes Craven has said that this movie taught him difficult lessons about making a horror comedy, and he implemented them on Scream, which probably Scream is a way better movie.
Yeah.
This is Angela Bassett's second vampire film. She actually was in one 2 years before called Innocent Blood, which I have never seen.
Okay, cool.
This is one of John Witherspoon and Kadeen Hardison's favorite movies that they've ever worked on. So that's pretty fun.
If I was them, I would love this movie too, because they are having the most fun. They are the funniest characters. They come off great in it. Like, I love it.
Now, the screenplay is said to have been written by 3 first-time screenwriters. Those are people that worked along with Eddie Murphy and Charlie Murphy and are largely uncredited. Although Eddie Murphy and Charlie Murphy, while they had contributed stories for Coming to America and other things, they often worked with other writers. So they are 2 of the 3 first-time screenwriters listed here.
Awesome. Okay.
Because normally they did not involve themselves in that part.
Right.
Angela Bassett has said she got very claustrophobic in the coffin.
I would too, man. That would be rough for me.
This is the second film where Eddie Murphy portrays more than one character, the first being Coming to America. This is the second. And then the Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps, Norbit, and Coming to America, the sequel to Coming to America. It is something he continues to do throughout most of his career. Just because we have made jokes about Twilight and other vampire properties, and I am a vampire nerd, I'll end on this fun fact that this is released in the mid-1990s cycle of vampire films. If you've heard me talk about monsters and their relation to societal shifts, vampires are usually very popular during conservative eras because they're a reflection of excess and villainizing excess and more libertine living. Zombies are often indicators of like wartime or post-war time because it's post-apocalyptic typically, or times of sickness because people are worried about resources and people taking over them. It's really interesting if you want to get into it. There's a lot of good essays that have been written about it. But the 1990s, essentially, this is the Bush years or going into the Bush years coming off of the Clinton years. So it is a push against excess. So in the 90s, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 1992, Innocent Blood, 1992, which we just talked about, Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992, Interview with the Vampire, 1994, From Dusk Till Dawn, fucking incredible, it was on TV the other day, love that one, 1996, The Night Flyer, 1997, Blade in 1998, and Vampires in 1998, respectively. And that trend would continue through most of the Bush years and even into the beginning of the Obama years. So,
well, it would have been Clinton in 96. Clinton won in 96. But yeah, it was definitely a vampire decade because we had 3 Republican administrations, 2 Reagan, 1 Bush.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
It's the Bush backswing too. So it's both Bushes. This is Bush 1.
Yep.
And then Bush 2 is Twilight and True Blood.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it was like, Bush 1, Clinton, the 8 Clinton years, and then the Twilight stuff happened under HW. Yeah.
Yep.
Or is it just W? HW was the first one. So W Bush.
HW's the first one. W. Yeah, it's the second one. Yeah.
That shit's interesting to me.
I'm fascinated by it. And it doesn't exactly line up, especially because like it takes a while to make movies, but like you see them come in clumps. We're back in a vampire era again.
Yeah.
Love that. We've also been in a heavy exorcism era, which is interesting too. So like, it's always interesting to look at like our horror themes and what's going on in society as that's happening. I think the emphasis on exorcism movies is essentially a second satanic panic.
Yes, it is.
I think that goes hand in hand with the amount of movies we have that are like making fun of the first satanic panic. I think they're coming from 2 directions. I think you've got people who are looking at now and thinking like, this is the satanic panic all over again. I got to make fun of it. And then people who are like, the satanic panic was real. Let's make more exorcism movies.
Right.
So yeah, but fascinating if you want to dig into it.
Yeah.
And those are your fun facts.
Well, think of those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Vampire in Brooklyn in 1995 when they made it?
I think this is very expensive.
Okay.
I want to say 40 million.
Oh, Paige, it's actually a little bit less than that.
Okay.
It was $14 million.
Oh, good. Okay. This looks like $14 million. Good for them. No embezzlement here.
Yeah. Wes Craven's typically pretty good with smaller budgets.
Yeah.
And that would be roughly $28.8 million today, but that's pretty good for what we get on the screen, at least in my opinion. Just to put it in perspective, though, Scream cost $15 million, which is just $1 million more than this, and I think is a much better movie. But this movie premiered on October 27th, 1995. It was number 3 the weekend it came out. It was beat by the number 1 movie, Get Shorty. Number 2, Powder.
Oh, no.
Number 3, Vampire in Brooklyn. Number 4 was Copycat, and number 5 was Now and Then. What do you think Vampire in Brooklyn made in its opening weekend?
Opening weekend, I'm going to say this probably made at third, $7 million.
That's an amazing guess because it made $7,045,000, Paige. Just barely over $7 million. I mean, you probably win both showcase showdowns with that answer. It was in theaters for a total of 14 weeks. It was in the top 5 for its first 2, the top 10 for its first 3, and then fell pretty quickly after that. But what do you think it made domestically? And I'll just go ahead and say worldwide because it did not get an international release. What do you think it made when it was in theaters in 1995?
I think this didn't get an international release, so only domestic. It made $7 million opening week. I'm going to say this probably makes about $35 million.
Quite a bit less, unfortunately. It made $19.6 million. So it was successful. It made money. And I'm sure it made money in video and then DVD and then streaming. So I'm sure it's done fine since its release. But it did not make a ton in theaters over the $13 million budget at $19.6 million. But if you just for inflation, that's $40.4 million today.
Nice.
But that is your box office. So Paige, why don't you hit us with the scary scale?
Our scary scale is a scale of 1 to 10 of how scary we found the movie today. 1 being Ghostbusters, 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd, where are you going to put it?
I am embarrassed to admit this. I'm going to give it a 2. when Angela Bassett first opens the coffin and you see like Vampula Bassett and then it grabs her, that scared me. I jumped a little bit.
That's fair.
But it's not really scary.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a 1. And that's your scary scale.
Yeah. So this week, Paige, you made us watch Vampire in Brooklyn. Next week is the listener request. And they had whittled all the possible movies into the final 4 of Blink Twice, Bones, Gothica, and Mr. Crockett. And a movie I had never heard of, Blink Twice, crushed the vote with 46%. At Gothica was at 33. That was the next closest one. So Blink Twice crushed the vote this week. So that's your homework for next week. That's what we'll be doing an episode on. So make sure you get it watched before next week. I think Channing Tatum's in it.
Todd, do you have any reviews for us?
I do. So this week, I'm going to read a Spotify comment from one of our most recent episodes. The most recent episode being Deliverance, by the way, which was a wild episode. And this one comes in from B-E-E, and they literally have like the emoji of a bee after their name. And they say, as someone from Maine, I've had many people ask me how hard it was to immigrate to the USA. So it does feel like it's a different country. It also has a Poland, Paris, China, and many other foreign/city county names. So apparently when I like made the joke of he's not in Iraq, he's in Maine. Do they have like an Iraq, Maine? They don't, but they do a lot of cities named after countries in Maine, apparently. That's funny.
Interesting.
So B,
Wow.
Thank you for that insight. I'm glad I sort of guessed correctly about that. And thank you so much for that Spotify comment. And if you want to have me read your Spotify comment or 5-star Apple review, do one of those things and I'll do just that. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast. Some might call it a sister podcast called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back, and I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley. If you want to hear me and Crystal scream about this like 4 years ago, Black Card Rehab, or you can go listen to Crystal's new podcast, a stigmatism comedy, which they do like in seasons, and it's more of like an actual comedy show that's live, and they tape it live with an audience and everything. It's very interesting and cool.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
And ahoy, motherfuckers.
Damn it, I was about to go. Have an excellent week, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye. I think Angela Bassett's brother from this movie is the lead singer of Pearl Jam. Nerds. I wrote a whole parody song because her last name is Vetter, and I just didn't use it because it didn't come up.